Hi, it's Dana here from Piwakaka Valley Homestead. Today I'm going to talk to you about freezing your meat without using plastic in the freezer. I've got 7 different options. Number 7 is the one that we use the most. We are trying to avoid using plastic in our house, and I haven't actually bought any cling film or glad wrap or whatever you want to call it for the last 5 years for our family. So it doesn't really sit very well with me that every night that we would sit down to have our dinner, the meat had been at least double wrapped, if not triple wrapped, in plastic at the supermarket. It is much easier to freeze your meat without plastic if you happen to buy your food from a butcher, or if your supermarket has a butcher counter. Unfortunately, our supermarket doesn't actually have a butchery counter anymore. One of the first suggestions that people suggest, good old butcher's paper. And the reality is, if your butcher uses butcher's paper, chances are it's actually laminated with a layer of plastic on the top. That is how most butcher's paper comes these days. You can buy a compostable butcher's paper that's got soy wax on it instead of plastic. Butcher's paper is great when you wrap it up quite firmly. It'll keep the dry air out, which is actually what causes the freezer burn. So food that is wrapped in butcher's paper does last quite a long time in the freezer. The second option is to use plastic containers that you already have at home. Our ice cream comes in 2-litre bottles with a lid that clicks on top. That's kind of perfect for doing something like this with. Reusing takeaway containers would work well in the freezer. The good thing about all of those options is they are nice and square, they'll fit well within your freezer, and they are stackable. Option number 3, buy glass square containers that have lids that click onto them. Usually those lids unfortunately are plastic, but that's, such is life. So I know Pyrex does a range of square dishes that you can go from your freezer straight into your oven with and obviously take the plastic lid off. They're not the cheapest option in the world, but they do last really well. Of course, the downside to being glass is if you drop them they will smash, and then you're going to have smashed glass all through your freezer. Along the glass theme, the other option is the old mason jar. Every homesteader has a million of these, which is fantastic, and you can freeze lots of things in mason jars. Our family eats a lot of meat, so we would need a much bigger jar if we were going to store our meat in jars. The other thing with them is they're not the best shape for trying to fit in your freezer. Try and stack them, they're kind of wobbly, but at a pinch, they're a great option. Option number 5 would be to use good old-fashioned tin foil. Aluminum foil, aluminium foil, however you want to say it, it's all the same product. And a good couple of layers of that. You'd always want to double wrap with aluminium foil just because it does get tiny wee holes in it really easily. It's perfect for short-term storage, and as soon as your wrapping has a tiny hole in it, that dry air will get in and you'll ruin your food with freezer burn. The upside to foil, of course, is that it's cheap, and it's easily accessible, and it is one of those things that most people have access to. Option number 6 is one of the things we do, and that is silicone freezer bags. We have the larger ones and the smaller ones. We use them for all sorts of things. They come with a zipper top along the top here, which is resealable. When you first get them, the zip can be quite stiff, and so a handy tip for that is to either wet or oil along the edge of the zipper to help lubricate it, to slide it along. Everything seals in there really nicely. We've not had any problems with any freezer burn with things that we've stored in our silicone food bags. They're waterproof once you get the zipper shut properly, so they're not going to spill through your freezer, and they stack, and the bottoms of them open up like this, so you can, or when they're full, they'll stand up quite nicely as well. Number 7 is my absolute favourite for storing meat in the freezer without using plastic, and that would be the good old-fashioned steamer pans, also known as gastron pans or bain-marie dishes. These things are metal, they're made from stainless steel, and they last pretty much forever. They are a wee bit of an investment, unless you can pick some up secondhand from a catering store or something. They will last a lifetime, and they will probably be still good to pass on to your children. They come with lids. They come in many different sizes. We've got sort of this size and this size. I can't remember exactly how big they are. I want to say 1 litre and 2 litre, something like that. And they're designed specifically to stack. So they fit beautifully in the freezer, they stack well, they're dishwasher safe, they're oven safe, they're nice and lightweight if you're carrying a whole bag of them to the butcher to get them filled up. Our butcher quite happily filled them because obviously they look nice and clean. The one thing we have discovered is that because they're metal, they do transmit the cold really well, which is brilliant for cooling things down really quickly. But to prevent freezer burn, we've had the best results by putting a layer of baking paper on the top, or with some things even covering them in a layer of water or stock. Helps just protect the top if you're doing that really long term storage in the freezer. With all of these options, there's very little excuse for using all our double wrapped cling wrap. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments below what you use at your house for freezing your meat without using plastic. In the description below, I have added links for all of these products if you want to check them out.